Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya Radharamana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya Govinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtottara Satasi Srimad Divine Grace Abhay Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Srila Prabhupada Ki Prabhupada Anuga Ki Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Nitai Gaura Primanande. All glories assembled devotees, all glories assembled devotees, all glories assembled devotees, all glories, all glories, all glories of Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Daivim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatir Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 5, Text 34. Tyaktva sudushtyajas surepsita rajya lakshmim dharmishta arya vachasa yat agad aranyam maya mrigam dayitayepshitam anvadhavat Vande Mahapurusate Charanarvindam. Please repeat. Tyaktva sudustyajas surepsita rajya lakshmim. Canto 11, Chapter 5, Text 34. In case you have it. Tyaktva sudustyajas surepsita rajya lakshmim. Dharmishta arya vachasa yadagat aranyam. Dharmishta arya vachasa yadagat aranyam. Maya mrigam dayitayepsitam anvadhavad. Vande Mahapurusate Charanarvindam. Vande Mahapurusate Charanarvindam. Tyaktva sudustyaja surepsita rajya lakshmim. Dharmishta arya vachasa yadagadharanyam. Maya mrigam dayitayepsitam anvadhavat. Vande Mahapurusate Charanarvindam. Tyaktva, abandoning. Sudushtyaja, most difficult to give up. Sura Ipsita, anxiously desired by the demigods. Raja Lakshmim, the goddess of fortune and her opulence. Dharmishtaha, most perfectly fixed in religiousness. Arya Bachasa, according to the words of a Brahmana who had cured himself to be deprived of all the happiness of family life. Yet he who Agat went Aranyam to the forest, taking to the renounced order of life. Maya Mrigam, the conditioned soul, who is always searching out illusory enjoyment. Dayitaya, out of sheer mercy. Ipsitam, his desired object. Anbadhavat, running after. Vande, I offer my homage. Mahapurusha, O Lord Mahaprabhu. Te, to your Charanaravindam, lotus feet. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. O Mahapurusha, I worship your lotus feet. You gave up the association of the goddess of fortune and all her opulence, which is most difficult to renounce and is hankered after by even the great demigods. Being the most faithful follower of the path of religion, you thus left for the forest in obedience to a Brahmana's curse. Out of sheer mercifulness, you chased after the fallen conditioned souls who are always in pursuit of the false enjoyment of illusion, and at the same time engaged in searching out your own desired object, Lord Shamasundara. Purport. According to the Vaishnava Acharyas, this important verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam is understood to describe Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Krishna, and also Lord Sri Ramachandra. This verse appears within the discussion by the sage Garbhajana of the Yuga Avataras, or the different incarnations of the personality of Godhead who deliver the conditioned souls of each age. The prayers ending with the words Vande Mahapurusha-te Charanaravindam are understood to glorify the incarnation of Lord Krishna in Kali Yuga known as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu lived for 24 years in Navadvip as a householder and enjoyed immense popularity among both scholars and ordinary persons. His Sankirtana movement was completely supported by the local government, even though it was Muslim. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had the pleasure of marrying the goddess of fortune. No ordinary woman of this material world, no matter how gorgeous she may be, can in any way compare with the beautiful goddess of fortune. Everyone in the universe, including Lord Brahma, is searching after the goddess of fortune. Therefore it is stated here, Surepsita. However, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Lord Krishna appearing as a Brahmana, and therefore he is certainly Dharmishtaha, or the most religious. Actually, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is always Dharmishtaha. Whether he appears as a cowherd boy, a great king, or a Brahmana, because the Lord Himself is the original source and personification of all religious principles. However, in the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there are very few political or economic activities. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared as a great philosopher Brahmana. Thus he is certainly Dharmishtaha. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the 17th chapter of the Adi Leela, it is described that a certain Brahmana, who was well known for being harsh and cursing others, could not enter the Kirtana hall where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was performing Kirtana, because the door was locked. Being very agitated and breaking his Brahmana's thread, He cursed Chaitanya Mahaprabhu the next day on the bank of the Ganges, saying, I shall now curse you, for your behavior has greatly aggrieved me. You shall be bereft of all material happiness. However, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu felt great jubilation within himself, since his mission was Vairagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yoga, to give up the illusion of the material sense gratification and staunchly engage 24 hours a day in the devotional service of the Lord. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took this curse as a blessing, and soon after, the Lord took sannyasa. That is stated in this verse that by the words of the Aryan, the Brahmana, Arya Vachasa, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyasa, Yadagat Aranyam, and went traveling through the different forests of India, their way to Vrindavana and later South India. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted especially to preserve the prestige of the Brahmana class, and therefore decided to keep the Brahmana's curse intact. Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has explained the word Maya Mrigam as follows. Maya means one's so-called wife, children and bank account, which keep one firmly bound up in the material bodily concept of life. The word Mrigam indicates Mrigayati, or to search out. Thus, Maya Mrigam indicates the conditioned living entity who is always frantically searching for the latest up-to-the-minute sense gratification in the material bodily concept of society, friendship and love. Anvadhavat indicates that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was always visibly going here and there, searching after the fallen conditioned souls. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would sometimes embrace the conditioned souls in the pretext of religious friendship or ecstasy. But actually the Lord was touching the bodies of the conditioned souls to pull them out of the ocean of material existence and hurl them into the ocean of ecstatic love of Godhead. Thus Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was a most merciful and munificent incarnation of the Lord, whose mercy surpassed the bounds of mundane discrimination in the matter of caste, color and creed. The word Daitaya can be explained as follows. The Sanskrit word Daya means mercy. Thus, by grammatical derivation, the word used in this verse, Dayitaya, indicates that because of being the most merciful, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was busily engaged in rescuing the fallen conditioned souls who are completely distracted and bewildered by the external illusory energy of the Lord. The quality of being the most merciful is part and parcel of the character of the Mahapurusha, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, this verse also describes the incarnation of Lord Krishna himself in his original blackish form. Thus the word Surepsitarajya Lakshmim indicates the Mathura Sampatim, or the opulence of Mathura. Mathura is described in Vedic literature as the reservoir of all opulence because of the touch of Lord's lotus feet in that precinct. Thus, but Krishna, although taking birth in the opulent city of Mathura, transferred himself to the forest village of Vrindavana. In this case, the word Arya Vachasa indicates the order of Lord Krishna's original parents, Vasudeva and Devaki. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord Vasudeva and Devaki expressed their fear at the threat of Kamsa, who has already killed all of Krishna's elder brothers. The word Arya Vachasa thus indicates that with great love they requested Krishna to kindly make some arrangement to avoid Kamsa, and Krishna, to obey their order, transferred himself to the forest village of Vrindavana, Yad Agadharanyam. In this context, the words Maya Mrigam indicate this special exalted relationship between Srimati Radharani and Sri Krishna. Maya also indicates the internal potency of Krishna, Yoga Maya. The original form of Krishna's internal potency is Srimati Radharani. Due to the inconceivable love of Srimati Radharani, Lord Krishna becomes easily controlled by her. Thus, Mrigam, or animal, in this case indicates Krida Mrigam. or a toy animal. Just as a beautiful young girl may be played with as so many dolls or stuffed animals, similarly Lord Krishna becomes just like a doll. Oh, it's a very long purport. The hands of most beautiful young girl Srimati Radharani. Umagyanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So it's a long purport and it's going on and on. So I'll stop here. I think I was asked to speak on the previous verses, Krishnavarnam to Sakrishnam, which I thought will be better placed for the Gaura Purnima Day Bhagavatam class. And I chose to speak on this because it's also one of the rare verses cited indicating Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Vande Mahapurusha Te Charanaravindam. It describes here Tyaktva Sudushtyaja Surepsita Rajya Lakshmim. Lord Chaitanya, Nimai Pandit, got married 2 times. Vishnu Priya and Lakshmi Priya. So he is mentioned that he gave up his family life and went taking sannyasa to the forest, means Vrindavana. So Maya Mrigam, Vande Mahapurushate Charanaravindam, very directly saying that Mahaprabhu, Krishna himself is indicated. Because it says Aranyam, Yad Agad Aranyam, he went to the forest, renouncing, means he took sannyas. And only glaring example of that is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And it also says Maya Mrigam, which of course in Ramachandra's pastimes becomes the golden deer Mriga, which came and enamored Sita, and Lord Ramachandra was asked to go behind it, and in this way all sorts of difficulties started after that. But here Maya Mrigam is translated as, you chased after the fallen conditioned souls who are always in pursuit of the false enjoyment of illusion. That is the description given here. So this is a series of shlokas, Vande Mahapurushate Charanaravindam. And here Prabhupada is explaining that it indicates Krishna, indicates Ramachandra, indicates Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we are preparing gradually for the appearance, celebrations of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Gaura Purnima. And I've been asked to say a few words today, so that every morning there will be readings from Chaitanya Charitamrita leading up to Gaura Purnima. Maybe in Tamil, maybe in English. The amazing thing is the Lord taking sannyasa. And rarely do you see that type of activity anywhere else. It's the only thing he takes, only time he specifically comes and he takes sannyas. Of course, Nityananda Prabhu, it is mentioned, broke his sannyasa danda and threw it into the river, saying, I know very well who you are, what is the necessity for sannyas for you? That the Supreme Personality of God should take sannyas. So he threw it. And it is also mentioned that Nityananda Prabhu's danda was also broken. He also had a danda, it was also broken. So it's interesting that the Supreme Personality of Godhead appears as Gaura Nitai and breaks his danda. Both of them break their danda. And Danda Bhanga, there is a place on the way to Puri, which I think ISKCON has acquired place, and there is a nice place. I haven't visited that place. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted sannyas for various reasons. It's mentioned in the Chaitanya Bhagavat and in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. In one of the Leelas, he achieves that purpose distinctly. When he is in Varanasi, he meets with Prakashananda Saraswati and a group of Advaita sannyasis. He liberates them. And there's another instance of, you'll have to turn down the volume, it's echo. There's another instance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nimai Pandit, when he is asked to chant the name of Krishna and everything will become all right, by his students, some of his students. Why are you worried? Don't chant the name of Gop. I think he chanted the name of some gopis, and then he was told by the students, you chant Krishna's name. And something like that, very arrogantly corrected. And Lord Chaitanya became disturbed that if this is the way they do it, how will they get love of God? So he understood that I'm not getting respect. Then I cannot preach. I cannot give them Krishna consciousness, especially the students. They mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita as Adama Paduya, most degraded and low, fallen. They won't listen to anybody. Very stubborn. So he considered that there are students like this. There are sannyasis who won't surrender. In this way, he said that I should accept sannyasa. And then they will be forced to give me respect. And if the Supreme Lord comes as sannyasi and they are forced to give respect, then they get that benefit. And they will be purified and liberated. So these are reasons that I mentioned of him accepting sannyasa. Vande Mahapurushate Charanaravindam. I worship the lotus feet of such a great Mahapurusha, Krishna, who accepted sannyasa, and he renounced his family life at a young age of 24 years. When he was 24 years old, he left, and his wife and his mother were left at home. His father had passed away. He took sannyasa and left. It is amazing that his brother also, Vishwarupa, did that. Accepted sannyasa and left. And that broke the family members so much. After 9 girls were born and died, then Vishwarupa was born, was such a sweet, wonderful person. And then he got preached to. Advaita Acharya's group was preaching, reading Bhagavatam those days before Lord Chaitanya appeared. And Vishwarupa became such a staunch devotee of Krishna, reading the Bhagavat, associating with devotees, doing Harinam. And that when he came to know that his parents are looking for a girl for him, he left the house. He said, I'm not at all interested in this. It's very difficult to convince. So he left the home and went traveling. And we hear later that he is the one who came as Shankararanya Swami and met with Hadai Oja and his son, who is Nityananda Prabhu. So in this way, he took sannyasa and left. And then Lord Chaitanya also takes sannyas. The only son remaining, he also takes sannyas and leaves. So you can imagine how heartbreaking it will be for his mother, Sachi Mata. So and here it says, that the sannyas leela is some very, very sweet, beautiful leela. We don't have time to discuss that now. But it's mentioned here also about a Brahmana cursing him. And Prabhupada explains that he held his Brahmantad and cursed for not allowing me inside to enjoy the Harinama Sankirtana. And therefore, I curse you to lose all material opulence, which was a great blessing for a sannyasi. To lose all material opulence and be totally dependent on Krishna. That's exactly what we are trying to do. And if somebody is going to help you by accelerating that in the form of a curse, what more good could it be? Similarly, for Parikshit Maharaj also, he was cursed. You will die. And he became more Krishna conscious. Sometimes these curses are so good. They are blessing. Narada Muni got cursed by Daksha. He would not be able to stay for more than 3 days in one place. I was forced to travel and preach. And the Krishna consciousness movement increased because of the curse. Thank you very much. It's a blessing in disguise. Right? So, it's also mentioned that another Brahmana is, 3 references are here. One is a Brahmana. It says, Arya Vachasa. Very high class human being, means Brahman, born in a Brahmin family, and then he renounces and goes. Sannyasa is recommended only for Brahmins, normally, in I think according to regular Varnashrama principles. It's also mentioned that this Brahmin cursed him, and there is another instance of the day when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is born, and his father Jagannath Mishra is so happy, and all people are gathered together, and there is a Brahmin in the audience, Brahmin or a yogi in the audience, who gets up and says lots of wonderful things. This child will be like this, like that, like this. Jai Jagannath Baladev Subhadramai ki. And he also happens to know the horoscope, because he got the time when it is born, and he has drawn up the whole horoscope very quickly. In the horoscope, he sees that this person will leave his home and take sannyas. So he tells everything it is mentioned in the horoscope, but this alone he doesn't say, that he will leave home and take sannyas, because he was very afraid of hurting the 2 parents who were there, Sachimata and Jagannath Mishra. So he held himself by saying it, described very nicely in the Chaitanya Bhagavata and Chaitanya Charitamrita, I think. That he looked at this boy and he knew that this is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he will take sannyas. But that pastime alone, that he will take sannyas, he will leave home, he did not say. Because maybe he has known that Vishwarupa took sannyas, and before that they lost all their children, and now he also is going to take sannyas. Imagine how a mother will feel. Lost all my children, and 2 of my male members took sannyas and left, and I am alone at home with my daughter-in-law. Pretty difficult. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he appeared and took this sannyasa ashrama, because he wanted to preach Krishna consciousness, spread the holy name, and only then people will listen to. A sannyasi's authority cannot be contested. Prabhupada explains in the Bhagavatam, a sannyasi is a natural guru of the Varnashrama. You have everybody in the Varnashrama. And so he is paid respect to, and his order is carried out. That is the meaning of a sannyasi. Lord Chaitanya, even Lord Chaitanya, accepted sannyasa for this purpose. And then you will see that he is doing this activity of dancing and chanting in great emotional feeling, with great emotional feeling. And people are wondering, sannyasi doing all these things? Sannyasi should be sitting and studying. in some corner. Don't be a public person. Sannyasi should do this like that. But you will see Lord Chaitanya's sannyasa means a means to preach in Kali Yuga, to make people listen to you. That's why a sannyasi is utilized for that purpose. You please sit down and talk, and they have to listen. So sannyasi is used to convey the message of Godhead and ask people to follow it. And for that he himself should be following it. So today you have all various combinations and colors of different types of sannyasis in Kali Yuga. Somebody self-styled sannyasi, somebody wearing the dress of a sannyasi, and somebody who's really a sannyasi but doesn't even wear the dress, doesn't look like one. You'll see the Babajis in Vrindavan are very renounced, some of them. And our parampara also contains quite a few Babajis. Very renounced and don't have anything external indication of anything as such. So you have various, and each sampradaya has got his own way of Ekadandi sannyasi, Tridandi sannyasis. So we come in the line of the mood of the sannyas that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took and accepted. Krishna speaks about karma sannyasa, karma yogo vishishyate. What is that? Karma sannyasat karma yogo vishishyate. Greater than karma sannyasa is karma yoga. Krishna explains in the 5th chapter as answer to Arjuna's question. And this is a very important thing to know. The important thing is to be a devotee of Krishna, surrender to Krishna. It's not about sannyasa. Kiba vipra kibanyasi shudra kenanoi ye Krishna tattva veta sai guru hoy. It does not matter if you are a great scholar, pandit, kiba vipra, kibanyasi, it does not matter if you are a sannyasi. Shudra kenanoi, it does not matter if you are a shudra. Jai Krishna tattva veta, who knows the science of Krishna, he should be accepted as guru. So, that understanding which is so deep that if you are a devotee, you should be accepted and your instructions should be followed, is not so easy to introduce. But since people are stuck with ritualistic stuff, Vedic stuff, Vedavadarataha partha na anyat astiti vadinaha, and the ritualistic position of sannyasa, and having gone through the ashramas, and the final ashrama is sannyasa, that is called karma sannyasa. As per your karma, everybody should perform that. You should take brahmacharya, grahastha, vanaprastha, sannyasa. Ritualistic, you should follow all these ashramas in your life. In other words, it is not the title and the label and the ritual alone that matters, it is the mood that matters. Definitely everybody at the last portion of their life should become totally renounced from house, from attachments, from possessions, and walk away. Aranyam tena gantavyam. Walk away to the forest. This is the same advice Prahlad Maharaj gives to his father. Vanam gato tadhavriyam ashrayata hitvat papatam grihamandakupam. He tells his father, why are you rotting in this house like this? You should give up and go to Vrindavana forest. Vanam means forest. It also means Vrindavana. He tells even his father to do that. Everybody should do that. Everybody cut off at some point of time and say, hereafter I am going to die, I am going to leave my body, and therefore I should completely absorb myself in Krishna consciousness. Otherwise it's very dangerous. Whatever will happen to me, we don't know. So it's not really speaking an option, That if you want to, you can take. If you don't want to, it is not like that. Human life is meant for that. You take sannyasa and then you achieve liberation. That's why it's designed. So, everybody should renounce. So, but it's difficult to convince people. People get afraid when they see a sannyasi. They see a very seriously committed person who is respect-worthy and who is very committed. They actually become afraid. In other words, the sannyasi becomes inaccessible to everybody. And how will you preach to them? Others? How will you talk to them? So many things changed, and Lord Chaitanya showed the way. That he became very approachable. And he gave his wonderful association to everybody. So seeing Krishna as a sannyasi and executing it in Kali Yuga so sweetly, so wonderfully, but at the same time being strict, and at the same time being approachable, available, and interacting with all devotees, whether they are grihastha or sannyasa or brahmachari, with all of them. He had a whole community of people with him. He had children, he had women, grihasthas, sannyasis, vanaprasthis, everybody. And at the same time, he kept his very good distance from women, very strictly. And at the same time, he was very, very loving and merciful to the grihastha devotees. A lot of them, his disciples, were grihastha devotees. And they were very dedicated. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, grihastha. And all these other wonderful grihasthas, very learned, very educated, very dedicated, and practicing Krishna consciousness. So it does not matter, but it matters that we need people who are not just karma sannyasis. So, in the path of Lord Chaitanya in ISKCON, so when they see a person is capable of actually communicating and giving people Krishna consciousness, and he knows how to do that, then they would award him sannyas. Say, please go ahead and expand the preaching. And expand the preaching. So this way Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you will see 24 years of his Leela till he becomes a Grahastha, and then 24 years, half of it is a sannyasi. Normally if your life is 100, then you're supposed to be 25 years, you're in the Gurukula and with your mother at home. 5 years you stay at home, then Kaumaram Acharat Prajna, when you're 5 years old you go to Gurukula. When you're 25 years old, that is you spend 20 years in the studying university and school with the Guru. After that there is Samavartana, there is a passing out ceremony, and then he comes back home, becomes a Grahastha, continues to practice Krishna consciousness, or he just remains unmarried and moves towards Krishna consciousness. That is the business of life. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed us that we can do a greater type of sannyasa. Karma yogo vishishyate. That is, completely engage yourself in offering your mind, body, wealth, everything in the service of the Lord to propagate Krishna consciousness. In fact, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna specifically tells Arjuna, when Arjuna asks that work in devotion is better or sannyasa, you have confused me. And Krishna comes out immediately, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, and says that working in devotion is far greater than renouncing all activity in karma sannyasa. Don't renounce activity, just renounce the tendency to enjoy the fruit of that activity and continue to do that activity and channelize everything to Krishna. And say, everything is for you, Krishna. Same thing which I am capable of doing in the material world with my mind, body, words, I can do for you with no claim any whatsoever on the fruits of it. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu modeled that sannyasi, that I completely dedicate myself serving the Lord, and the greatest service one could do is to bring other persons, other lost souls into Krishna consciousness. So he dedicated half his life, 50%, 25% brahmachari life, 25% grahastha life, panchashordvam vanam vrajet. When you're 50 years old, you go to the vana, become a vanachari, become a vanaprastha. So, and after that, in the last 25 years, if your lifespan is 100, that is, in the last 25 years, you accept sannyasa and completely roam around, free from your wife, free from children, free from house, totally. But you see, Lord Chaitanya's life, half of his life was sannyas life. 48 years he lived and showed his pastimes in this world. 24 years out of that he was a sannyasi. He stayed in Jagannath Puri. And he manifested his sannyas pastimes, which are very sweet, because it's not the hard-hearted, renounced sannyasi, cold and callous towards materialists and material requirements of anybody, especially the grahasthas. It is not like that. Previously, you will see, before Lord Chaitanya, anybody has to achieve liberation, you have to take sannyas. The understanding generally was, if you want to be liberated, you must be a sannyasi. And only Brahmins could take sannyas. In other words, only Brahmins can get liberated. And the Brahmins were very corrupted. These were all the things happening, in Kali Yuga. And the Brahmins were very corrupted. It started with Shringi. Prabhupada says the fall down of the Brahmana started with Samika Rishi's son, Shringi, cursing Parikshit Maharaj, a Brahmana's son. And then Samika Rishi laments and tells his son, you have done something very wrong. It's portends something bad is going to happen in Kali Yuga. And these type of people will come up. Dharma bhado vidharmasya, what is that? Paradharma choditaha upadharmostu pakanda sabdova sabda vichala, dhambova sabda vichala. There are several people described here, 5 different types of people who will come in Kali Yuga and accept sannyas role or be a person who speaks very nicely, and all of them, they will not talk about Krishna. They'll talk about mundane subject matter. So many times people think people will take sannyas and they're in the opening of the movie, they're inaugurating the movie. Sannyasi, giving inauguration for movie, for a slaughterhouse, for export of shrimps and lobsters to the company has started, and he will be the chief guest. There is no regulation on what you should do. Just you're a sannyasi, wonderful. Everybody calls you and everywhere you go. There is no understanding. But in Lord Chaitanya's movement, specifically, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu introduced his role as a sannyasi. I just practice Krishna consciousness and preach Krishna consciousness, give people association and turn them to be devotees. And I do this 24 hours a day, and meticulously I do it. I'm completely thinking about it day and night and absorbed in his service. See, that person is a real yogi. As per the definition given by Krishna in the 6th chapter, Yoga yukto vishuddhatma vijitatma jitendriya sarva bhutatma bhutatma kurvanapi na lipyate. He becomes very dear to everybody, everybody becomes dear to him. Sarva bhutatma bhutatma kurvan api na lipyate. His actions are never entangling. So you'll see Lord Chaitanya's beautiful Leela as a sannyasi. And I like to, state one such Leela, that he is born in a very aristocratic Brahmin family, very highly cultured, very well-to-do, respected by everybody. And he has accepted sannyas. He sleeps on the floor on a small mat. And the devotees, his disciples, who are completely absorbed in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his beauty, his dancing, his relationship with all of them, so sweet that they do anything for Lord Chaitanya, hanging around him. So they can't watch him sleep on the floor because they can see his bones have come out, his ribs are all seen, he's practicing austerity. What happened to our sweet Nimai Pandit? He has become an austere sannyasi. So it's mentioned that they had so much love for him, they would get control and power over him and ask him to do certain things. Like Mukunda and the Damodar Pandit, Jagadananda, and all of them had almost some strong control over Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the way they talked. So see him sleeping like that, he gave a full pillow, bed, cot, everything. And Govinda brought it, and the Lord Chaitanya said, "What is this inside my ashram? What is this?" He said, "So and so gave it, and he's feeling bad that you're sleeping on the floor." What? He just dismissed it like nothing. I am a sannyasi and I have not taken sannyas for sense gratification. She continued to sleep on the floor, on a small mat that has been used for so long. And all of them were feeling very much. So several discussions occurred here and there, and Lord Chaitanya said, "I don't use that." And it is Govinda and others who together plucked leaves and tore the leaves into fine strips. You know, like you take a coconut leaf, you can tear it into fine strips, long strips, and roll them up, put them into Lord Chaitanya's old cloth, and made something like a bed. So that anything too artificial and too produced like this for directly, this thing is not acceptable to him. So they made a bed out of the old cloth and stuffed it inside and told him that. He said, "Yeah, that's if you want me to, I can lie down on." So very austere, and at the same time reciprocating with them and their feelings. Okay, you're feeling that I am too austere and you can't bear it, so I'll accept this, but not that. In the same way, Damodar Pandit would feel possessiveness over Lord Chaitanya. He has appointed himself as the guardian of Lord Chaitanya to keep him away from bad influences of others who try to come near and all the thing. So Lord Chaitanya is getting a visitor, a nice looking boy, looks very beautiful. His mother has just become a widow. She is very beautiful looking also. So this boy comes to the ashram and becomes very intimately connected with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is also very beautiful looking. By the way, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is very beautiful. So he pays special attention to this boy and gives him prasadam, talks to him and everything. Damodar Pandit does not like it. Everybody else is okay, nobody is thinking about anything. But Damodar Pandit, his brows are wrinkled. Why is this boy coming here every day? And then he quietly tells the boy one day, "Don't come here anymore, okay?" It's like, somebody coming to the temple regularly, nice boy, and meeting with, you tell him, "Why are you coming here? Don't come here." "They're coming here because I want association of devotees. I am coming here for that." He told, "You don't come here." And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu hears about it. And he says, why did you do that? He said, everybody knows. He's a nice looking boy. Everybody, a whole village and everybody knows. In fact, the whole world knows his mother is very beautiful. And if you show affection to that beautiful widow's son who's coming to meet you, you are sending out a message that people will talk about. And if they pass a comment about it, I can't bear to hear it. Therefore, I told the boy, don't come, just to avoid all these problems. Lord Chaitanya became very angry. He said, so you can control me. You are a grahastha and you come and control a sannyasi's activities. Wonderful. So he gave a comment like that. But inside, he was very happy with what Damodar Pandit did. Because he could appreciate Damodar Pandit is so sincere. He is so much looking after my reputation. He doesn't want to hear anybody comment anything about me. Therefore, he has told that boy, go. But Lord Chaitanya will take all these things and bundle it up together. And there's another person, Jagadananda Pandit. He is completely possessive. Because he is Satyabhama from Krishna Leela. In Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Leela, he has come as Jagadananda Pandit. So he will demand, you should eat, you should do this, you should do that. He is the one who gave the sandalwood oil and told Lord Chaitanya, tell him to apply the sandalwood oil over his body. And Lord Chaitanya said, what, mad or what? Sannyasi applying perfumed oil on his body so that everybody will smell me and the road and they'll think that this sannyasi is doing other things in the night, I think. He's associating with some other ladies. Why is he smelling so good? They will think about me. And that's what you want people to speak about me? And rub sandalwood oil, this is what I took sannyas for? You give that oil to Jagannath. Let them burn nice lamps and there will be aromatic, atmosphere there. And then Govinda is very afraid of Jagadananda Pandit. He will be very angry, he'll go and fast. And if you don't listen to what he says, and even Lord Chaitanya is afraid of him. Very amazing. And there's a big leela about him and his sandalwood, this thing. And he's fasting and everything. Controls Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Don't listen to me. If you don't do, I'll fast. If you don't take this bed and sleep on it, I'll fast. If you don't do this, I'll fast. So, because of him, he has to do certain things. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will say, I am a sannyasi and all these people are trying to control me. A sannyasi should not be under the control of others. You should be free to preach, to meditate on Krishna and do, and his order should be followed. And these people are trying to tell me what I should do. I am leaving from here. I want to leave from here. Because it is not good for all of you to do this to a sannyasi. For your own dharma, it is not good. So in this way, he will mention that I am leaving. And everybody become more anxious. But inside, he was so happy with the conduct of Damodar Pandit, with the conduct of Jagadananda Pandit, was very attached to them. In fact, he will tell, Jagadananda Pandit will get very angry because whatever I tell, he doesn't want to do. Whatever I offer him in gift, he doesn't want to take it. So he'll say, I want to go to Vrindavan for a change. I'm getting a little disturbed here because I'm not valued here by Lord Chaitanya, and for me, my life is Lord Chaitanya. So, and he doesn't want to take anything, so I'm going to Vrindavan. So he will tell Swarup Damodar and tell him, please tell him, give me permission, I want to go to Vrindavan. I have never seen Vrindavan. I should go to Vrindavan, I'm a devotee. Once at least I should visit, no? I want to go to Vrindavan. Lord Chaitanya will be approached by Swarup, he wants to go to Vrindavan. No, he should not go to Vrindavan. Immediately, instantly he will tell, no, not allowed, I should not go to Vrindavan. Then he'll go and tell, I am just asking him permission to give blessing to go. Because I am obedient and I cannot go without his blessing and I will not go. So what am I going to do in Vrindavan? Vrindavan is a place everybody goes to. If you want Krishna Bhakti, you have to go to Vrindavan. So what is wrong in me going to Vrindavan? He'll argue. And Swarup, I don't know what his mood is. But again he will go and ask and say, no, he's not going to Vrindavan. Then Swarup Damodar will say, he will understand. There's something going on between these two people, which I am not able to understand. And he will carefully try to analyze, and he will understand that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu does not want to be separated from Jagadananda Pandit. So he is using his influence as a head and telling him, no, you should not go. So Swarup Damodar will ask him, why are you telling him he should not go? You know, that fellow will go and get into wrong company in Vrindavan. There are all sorts of people in Vrindavan. He'll go and mix with the wrong people and get waylaid. Plus, how will he travel all the way to Vrindavan alone through the forest? Thieves, dacoits are all there. I don't want him to go to Vrindavan. So if this is taken care of, he can go to Vrindavan, right? You will narrow down. It's taken care of, he can go to Vrindavan, right? He will not answer. So he comes to know that this is something about attachment of Lord Chaitanya for Jagadananda Pandit. And I am in between it. So Jagadananda Pandit will again argue and say, I have to go. Finally, Lord Chaitanya will call Jagadananda Pandit and tell, you can go to Vrindavan under the following conditions. Are you willing to follow what I say? He said, yes, state it. Cannot mix with certain types of people in Vrindavan. You have to be with Sanatana Goswami. You should report immediately when you go there to him. You should not do this. He'll lay some conditions. He said, all these things I can do. I'll go to Vrindavan. He goes to Vrindavan. So this Leela very nicely, I am just summarizing it, very beautifully mentioned, where it shows that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he doesn't want to be separated from Jagadananda Pandit, although he is a sannyasi. Why? His love for Lord Chaitanya is so sweet, such a pure devotee. Right? So in sannyas Leela of Lord Chaitanya, you will see many things happening there, which is mixed with being a sannyasi and being the Supreme Lord, sharing himself and his association, and the devotees getting his association. Is filled with rasa, sweetness. Although Lord Chaitanya took sannyas, it was not the hard-hearted, cold, callous towards anything material type of sannyas. And you can see that very nicely manifested in Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada's dealings with his wonderful disciples. So I thought I'll reflect on this a little bit and get a little simple understanding of the mood of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the mood of the Acharyas, the mood of Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and what it means to preach Krishna consciousness and keep that as the center. Anybody who does that, even if he is a grahastha, he's a sannyasi. If he actually keeps in the center the serving Lord Krishna, serving Prabhupada's movement, and helping the preaching and helping the expansion and bringing of conditioned souls, he is a sannyasi. You don't have to get the official title also. So that mood, very nicely evinced by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and practiced by all the great acharyas coming in the line, and in recent times Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. So sometimes we get criticized that, you don't know the ritual of the sannyasi, you don't touch anybody. Sannyasi walking means, walk on the side, there will be 3-4 people around him, and he will be escorted. It's a very different position in the Varnashrama. Nobody asks any question. Prabhupada says in the Bhagavatam, sannyasi means civil death. Nobody can ask him any question. He can go to the airport and he should not even be asked, do you have a ticket? He can go into the flight and sit down and go into the America and preach. You can get into a bus. It seems in those days if a sannyasi gets into the bus, they won't even ask him ticket, give money for ticket. Nobody asks him. He can sit anywhere he wants, wherever he wants to go, everything is provided for him. Whatever he needs is provided. If a sannyasi needs something, he will not even ask, he will indicate some way and it's immediately given to him. It's my great fortune to be able to give you something that you need. Like that, Prabhupada explains that in the Bhagavad. And that is the type of authority and freedom given to a sannyasi. So that can still be done, but at the same time you can relate with everybody for their Krishna consciousness. If you remain a cold-hearted sannyasi, like many of the Mayavadis practice, with nobody coming near you, isolated somewhere, only with some brahmachari disciples in the ashram, that is the ideal karma sannyasi type of this thing. But in modern times, Prabhupada showed, just like Lord Chaitanya did, one is a head of the varnashrama, and there are all sorts of people you relate with. Ramanujacharya, you will see that Parashara Bhatta's parents, he has paid very special attention to them because he knows they are going to have a wonderful offspring. He gave Mahaprasadam and told, you eat this. He gave special blessings from the deities and sent it to his house. You pay attention to this grahastha, out of the way. And several other grahasthas also were got special mercy in, because they were like sannyasis. And giving the association to all sorts of people, keeping them close, having them experience Krishna consciousness. More like a community head, the whole varnashrama, this thing. So we can see how sweet, that is why the Varanasi sannyasis found it very odd. What are you jumping and dancing for? Very, very bad. You should sit down and read Vedanta Sutra. And Lord Chaitanya comes there and gives reply to that. My spiritual master told me I am a fool, I am only fit for chanting Krishna's names. And it becomes so emotional to me when I chant, I jump and dance. What can I do? I'm a very simple person. He expressed himself like that. But actually he is expressing the ultimate conclusion of the entire Vedas. And he is giving to them very wonderfully. So, nice sweet leelas of Lord Chaitanya as a sannyasi, and how he is very strategically communicating Krishna consciousness to different levels and different people in society and getting them to follow. Om Tat Sat. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki. Is there a question here? Hare Krishna Maharaj, why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to sannyas after marriage, not before marriage? Sannyas is taken after Grahastha Ashrama. Just in case, the question is from Arvind Kumar. Oh. Yeah, sannyas ashrama is the last stage in the ashrama. Brahmachari, Grahastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyasa. So, Grahastha ashrama is over, then you go Vanaprastha and then you go sannyas. That is the order. I think you got the order wrong. Went to sannyas after marriage, not before marriage. Before marriage, nobody takes sannyas. Which means that after sannyas, he gets married. I don't think that's the right order. Though sometimes it happens like that, maybe.
Like, generally...
Is your question, huh?
No, but I understand this question. It's like, soon after marriage, after marriage means after 50 years, we take sannyas.
Who said after marriage, 50 years you have to be in marriage? Who said? 25 years, not 50 years. Oh, when you're 50 years of age, you take Vanaprastha, not sannyas.
So Chaitanya took immediately after marriage.
Yeah.
So that is not befitting in Varnashrama. Or so before getting married only one continues brahmacharya and takes sannyas.
Those are just details. Vanaprastha also is one form of renunciation. Vanaprastha, you are allowed with your wife also. But some take Vanaprastha, they don't associate with the wife also. They are vanaprasthi. And then they are just waiting to accept sannyas, and they are totally free. So vanaprastha also means preparing. That's also sannyas, because many of them don't go with their wives into vanaprastha life. So that's the answer to the question. And there's another one here, 7. Though not an option, sannyasa seems very austere. As social system to provide for sannyasi is not prevalent in Kali Yuga, should we develop another system where people can still be renounced? That is exactly the system that is given to you by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. If you feel that is very austere, you can very well remain at home, in your family, and be renounced. That's also possible. If you keep Krishna in the center, husband and wife can serve Krishna very nicely with the children, and that's okay. You don't have to officially accept sannyas. The point is to have the mood of the sannyasi. You may not be allowed to take sannyas in a woman's body, in a grahastha ashrama, in this thing, but you can always cultivate the mood. Cultivate the mood of constantly meditating on Krishna, constantly thinking about spreading Krishna consciousness and being involved in that. It is sannyas. That's the answer, and that is very much available in our society. I know of many, many wonderful grahasthas who do that throughout their life and accept the mood. All these external titles are really not very important. It's important because we are an institution and people watch us as an institution, and preaching becomes easier, opportunities come to you like that. Om Tat Sat. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Nittai Guru Premanande.